The morning sun in Thien Nhan was cruel that day in July 2006. Its light burned through the mist, revealing a forgotten garden where life and death met in silence. Among the tall grass lay a newborn boy, no more than 3 days old. His body was cold and purple. Ants swarmed over his skin, and wild animals had torn away his right leg and his entire genital area. On his chest rested a single green leaf, as if the earth itself had tried to shield him from the cruelty of mankind. When rescuers lifted him, he did not cry. He only breathed, faintly, stubbornly, as if life refused to let go. The doctors who received him couldn't explain it. "This child," one whispered, "has chosen to live." They named him Thien Nhan, meaning the kind and compassionate one. It was more than a name. It was a prayer that the world would someday deserve him. Nurses took turns feeding him drops of milk from a syringe, watching a miracle unfold with every shallow breath. Against all odds, he lived. Years later, people would call him the little soldier who chose to live. But on that first morning, in that quiet garden, all he was life itself, refusing to die. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it, so that more souls can find hope in the darkest places. Leave a comment below. What does being born from the heart mean to you? In Hanoi, journalist Thien Nhan came across a brief article about a baby who had survived the impossible. She couldn't shake the image of him. That night, she didn't sleep. The next morning, she boarded a flight to Thien Nhan. When she entered the hospital, she saw a baby wrapped in white bandages, his body so small she could cradle him in one arm. But his eyes, bright, fearless, full of questions, made her heart ache. She whispered, "Come home with me, my son." And from that moment, a new family was born, not of blood, but of love. Years later, when Thien Nhan started school, he came home one day and asked, "Mom, my friend said I'm not your real child, that you just adopted me. Is that true?" Nhan smiled and pulled him close. "It's a secret, okay? I didn't give birth to you from my belly like your brothers. I gave birth to you from my heart. That's why you smell so sweet." He giggled. "Then give birth to my brothers from your heart too, so they can smell nice like me." She laughed, wrapping all 3 boys in her arms. "All right then. From now on, all 3 of you were born from my heart. The same place, my heart." That became their secret, their truth. From then on, every flight from Hanoi to Italy, every sleepless night, every hospital bill was not just about healing a body. It was about proving that motherhood is an act of courage, not biology. The next decade was a journey of faith. Thien Nhan grew up between hospital beds and recovery wards. He underwent 9 major surgeries to rebuild his leg, reconstruct his genitalia, and repair what nature had taken. In 2011, at Bologna, Italy, the world-renowned pediatric urologist Dr. Roberto de Castro took on his case. "This is not a patient," he said. "This is a miracle." The surgery was successful, a milestone that connected Vietnam and Italy through compassion. Alongside them stood Greg Kraft, an American humanitarian who had spent decades working for child safety in Vietnam. He raised funds, mobilized doctors, and believed that love could heal across borders. Together, they founded the Thien Nhan and Friends program, bringing hope to hundreds of children with similar conditions. After one long operation, Thien Nhan woke up, looked at his mother, and said softly, "Mom, that was long." She smiled through her tears. "Yes, my son, but you made it." Each scar on his body became a story. not of pain, but of persistence. From the story of one boy came a movement of mercy. The Thien Nhan and Friends program grew into one of Southeast Asia's most meaningful humanitarian efforts, connecting surgeons from Italy, the US, and Vietnam. They traveled across the country, performing free reconstructive surgeries for children born with genital and urinary defects, many from remote villages who had lost hope. By 2024, the program had completed over 630 surgeries and provided 2,000 consultations. Dr. DeCastro once said, "This is no longer just my work, it's a part of who I am." And Greg Kraft, now in his 70s, often smiled quietly, saying, "Saving one child's life means saving the world he will touch." Each hospital room they entered became a sanctuary of compassion. Each healed child was a ripple in the water, spreading hope further than anyone could measure. At the center of it all was Thien Nhan, no longer a victim, but a living symbol of resilience. At 19, the boy who once lay forgotten in a garden now walked with a prosthetic leg across a university courtyard. He had earned an 85% scholarship to study computer science and artificial intelligence. The media called him the Tin Soldier, like Andersen's fairy tale hero who stood tall despite having only one leg. When asked why he chose AI, Thien Nhan smiled. "If there's one thing artificial intelligence can't create, it's family love." The audience fell silent. He explained that he wanted to use technology to help children like him heal faster, to merge science and kindness. "I study to give back," he said, "because science can rebuild a body, but only love rebuilds a life." Every time he spoke, his quiet voice carried the power of someone who had lived both pain and grace and turned them into light. During an interview, a journalist once asked, "If you could meet your birth mother, what would you say?" He paused, then said softly, "I'd say thank you, because thanks to her, I met my real mom. I just wish she had wrapped me a little tighter and left me somewhere safer so my mom wouldn't have had to suffer so much." There was no bitterness in his words, only peace. For Thien Nhan, forgiveness was not forgetting. It was the act of releasing pain to make room for gratitude. His scars were not symbols of loss, but of grace, proof that sometimes what breaks you also saves you. Today, Thien Nhan serves as the chairman of the Thien Nhan and Friends Foundation. He visits hospitals, meeting children about to undergo surgeries. He kneels, holds their hands, and says, "You'll be okay. I used to be you." Doctors from Italy, the US, and Vietnam still return every year. A fellowship without borders, bonded by kindness. From the silent garden where he was once left to die, now echoes the laughter of children he helped save. He is no longer the boy who was rescued. He is the man who rescues. And his story whispers to us all, even from the deepest wounds, the gentlest light can bloom.